Okay, group, just a few things. Well, one, let's go back to our foundation plan. So these piers here, what we did was one of your classmates searched online on Google and he found a pier or a round concrete footing, I should say. And he posted that to the Ask the Class forum. So if you all go into the Ask the Class forum, which most of you did this in class, but just in case you didn't, I want to make sure that everyone is aware. In the Ask the Class forum, you'll see that Dan put a file called circular footing file. Go ahead and open that and upgrade the model, and then you'll want to load this into your project. It's quite large and it can't be created in elevation view, which is the error I'm getting. But it comes in quite large, so we need to modify it. To modify it, go to the Architecture tab and go to Component, and then you'll see the element in there. Just edit the type, duplicate it, and rename it 18 by 24 inch footing. And then just change the radius to 9 inches and the thickness to 2 feet. Okay, and then you can place those around all of those posts that we put in for our porch and deck. The other thing that we did, which was a little bit I didn't include in the other video, was we created this pilaster. So I do want to make sure if you missed that information that it gets on this drawing. So for the pilaster, what we did was we just created a rectangular column that was 8 inches by 16 inches, and we placed that on both ends of the wall, and we aligned it with these piers. Okay, and then the last step that we left off on was we were adjusting our elevations. So we were in the south elevation, or whatever elevation you were working with, and we were adjusting some of these because we realized that our elements are not connected properly. I think to better explain this, what we should do is take a look at a section through the building. So I'm going to go back to the foundation plan, and I am going to cut a building section through here. To do that, I'm going to go to View, Section, and I'm just going to slice a nice section right through this point. And actually, I want to move it up so that it's slicing through one of the piers. All right, now I can right-click on this and say, Go to View, and I can see the section. So I don't have a roof or anything on my drawing, so this is going to look a little bit strange. All right. So what I want to point out is how all of these items are connected. If you take a look at the section on your residential drawings, let's just look at that real quick. This is what our section should look like. Okay. So our foundation walls should be going up 4 feet from the top of the footing. But notice that we have our exterior walls, we have a sole plate here, then we have the floor. The floor is 10 inches, and then we have a 1.5 inch sill plate that sits on top of the foundation. So the top of our foundation wall actually needs to be at a datum of negative 11.5 inches. So I just added the 10 inches for the floor thickness plus the 1.5 inches for the sill plate. So we need to make sure that over here, and you can't really see these, so you guys are all going to have to break them and pull them down. And I'm just going to be kind of sloppy about it for this moment in time until I get it fixed, just to show you what everything should be set at. Oop. So the first floor is at 0, 0. Then we should have a top of foundation level. This level should not have a plan view associated with it. So make sure that when you make new levels from the Architecture tab, Level, you uncheck Make a Plan View before you create that plan. Okay, so we have top of foundation, and that's at negative 11.5 inches. Then we need to have a datum line called top of pier. So let's just go back to those residential drawings. So take a look at this pier. This pier runs from the top of the footing up, and then it has a 4 2x10 beams on top of it, then the floor joists. So what we need to do is we need to take into account this 10 inches of floor joists and then the 10 inches of beam. So actually we have negative 20 inches before the top of the pier starts. So again, that's 10 inches of the floor, plus the 10 inches for the beam. So negative 20 inches. And in class I said something different because I was rushing and I didn't look at it carefully enough. So top of pier should really just be negative 20 inches. Oh, what happened to my top of pier? Let's try that again. I just need to move some stuff down here. My information is overlapping quite a bit. It's difficult. Okay, so negative 20 inches. Okay, so that's going to be the top of the pier. So now with this section view, it's going to be much easier to move some stuff around. So we're never going to move our footings around. We're going to leave those. They're at the right height. What we do need to reset is our walls, or our foundation walls. So we need to click on these, and I'm going to just click on one, and I'm going to right click. I'm going to say select all instances in the entire project of that wall, and then I'm going to make sure that all of them are connected from the base constraint top of footing up to level top of foundation. And I'm going to set the offset to 0 and hit apply. So again, top of footing, top of foundation, and they're all running up to that top of foundation that we made. Now I know there's a big gap right here. Don't worry about that. We're going to get to that in just a minute. We're going to build this the actual way. I wasn't going to have us do it, but I think it will be good. And the next thing we're going to do is adjust our pier heights. So I'm going to select my pier in here, which is this, the 16 by 16 concrete pier. I'm going to right click, say select all instances in entire project. And then I want to make sure that those are sitting top of footing with the top level should be to top of pier, and then hit apply. That's why it's important to have these datums correct. And like I said in class, sometimes these change, even in actual real world situations. Sometimes this information changes and you have to know how to change it in the drawing. So this is a really good experience. Okay, so now that we have that information set, let's go ahead and let me just look at these real quick. So make sure that you have first floor, top of foundation, top of pier. Don't worry about this foundation one. I'm going to actually just right click and hide in view right now. That was an extra one that I made for another reason. We may have to bring it back, but for right now we'll hide it. But we definitely need first floor, top of foundation, top of pier, top of footing, and bottom of footing. So make sure that you have all these numbers set. You can pause the video here to be able to read all of that information. Oops, let me put that back for you, sorry. I'm just trying to hide this so you can see it. So once you get all the information set, what I'm going to do is go back to the foundation plan, and now I am going to draw in the 2x10 beams that run from this pilaster to this pilaster here. So if you go to the structure tab, you're going to see beam, and you should have dimensional lumber in here, 2x10. Now the placement plane should be the top of pier, and then we're going to want to run that from this point all the way down to this point. And it says that we can't see it, so I'm just going to see why that is. So I'm going to go to my 3D view, and I want to make sure that it's running from the right point. So it is running on my pier, however it looks like it put the top of it at top of pier instead of the bottom. So to fix that, I'm just going to do the start end level offset. I'm going to change it to be 10 inches, and I'll move it up 10 inches, and then the end level offset, I'm also going to move up 10 inches, and that will move it up 10 inches, which then places it on top of my pier. Now something that you're going to notice is that my pilaster height is actually incorrect. So the purpose of the pilaster is to hold the end of this beam, and right now it's not doing that because the pilaster is too high. So we need to adjust the height of the pilaster to be the same as the height of the pier. So the height of the pier has a base level of top of footing, and the top level is top of pier. So you need to click on the pilaster and just change the top of level to top of pier and hit apply. Okay, so now that looks correct. And then I'm going to do it on the other side. I'm going to rotate around so I can see this find my pilaster, click on it, and change it to top up here. Okay, so now I have a 2x10 beam running across that. Let's see if I can see that in the foundation view. So I still can't, so I probably have to adjust my view range. So I'm going to come over to my properties box and find view range and hit edit. To understand your view range more, you can hit the show button, so it kind of tells you what you're looking at. But what I like to do sometimes is just change my view range to unlimited. So I changed it to unlimited in all these spots, and then I set the cut plane offset to 2 feet. This is just so I can see this beam. If you can see the beam, you don't need to do this, but I couldn't see my beam, so I had to. So I'm going to say OK. So now here's my beam drawn across my pier and resting on my pilaster. I need 4 of those next to each other. So I want to look at this in fine detail so I can see the thickness of that beam. And then I'm going to click on it and I'm going to copy it so that I have 4 beams next to each other. Okay, and there's 4 of them because it just needs a lot of strength. That's adding additional strength. And then I'm going to center those on the pilaster. So I am going to click on all of them, and I am going to make them a group, and I'm going to call it the 2x10 beam. And then I'm going to say OK. And then I can move these so I can find the center, and then I can find the center over here, which is a triangle. Doesn't quite want to do it. I'm just going to move it off and then find the center. There we go. So that's the center to the center, and then I just need to use my arrows on my keyboard to move it down a little bit. The other thing we'll do is we will edit the group, and I'll pull my beams so that they all touch the end of the wall. They're not wanting to. And you might see that they pop back, and that's okay if they do that. They're doing the right thing. So I'll let them all. So my video is about to run out of time. Okay, and then just finish. And then there's your beam system on top of your pilasters and on top of your piers, and you can look at it in 3D and you can see those beams running through your basement, or crawl space, excuse me. Alright, so my video is about to run out of time, so in the next video we'll add joists.